this time, I'd like to call to the podium, bring an introduction for the 2023 Person of the Year Award, Mr. Sean McLeany Casey.
Ladies and gentlemen, I stand on the established protocol. I consider it a real delight and honor to have been asked to introduce the Person of the Year. He is a very special person to me. We have been friends for well over 50 years. We speak on an almost daily basis, and should a week go by without speaking, there is an understanding that we have that one of us must call the other to, as Sir Franklin says, observe the Constitution. And we've been doing this for many, many years. It's difficult to establish a suitable place to start in speaking about Sir Franklin, because he's a man who has accomplished so much in so many different spheres of our national life. He's a person of immense consequence to us and has been for decades. He is known to some of us primarily for his outstanding contributions to the world of politics, and in more recent times elevated to what we would call statesmanship. He began at a very young age. He was the driving force behind a leftist group of decidedly socialist orientation, which may be difficult to square with his subsequent wholesale conversion to capitalism. But there's absolutely no question that back in the day, of which I speak, in the late 60s, he was probably the preeminent figure on the national landscape in developing the pro-independence message years before it became fashionable for politicians to speak about it. And he distinguished himself in that. Subsequently, still in his early 20s, he was recruited by the then Prime Minister to serve as a member of Parliament. He was given one of the safest seats in the country to ensure that he would be elected and a part of the team. He became the MP for Grantstown in 1972. And let's recall that he's still a comparatively young man today. That was more than 50 years ago. He went on to establish other important records of achievement in the political sphere. He became a senator in later years. He also became, for a time, what I think the Americans would call the first gentleman of the Senate, because he was such a dutiful, faithful, obedient servant to his wife when she was the president of the Senate. Some men feel very insecure about that sort of thing. Not Sir Franklin. He beamed with pride over the achievements of his wife, and he performed superlatively even in that role. In more recent times, perhaps less well known to the public, Sir Franklin has evolved into unquestionably the senior statesman in our country, the person who you don't see in front of the cameras, but who is very much behind the scenes, advising politicians, ministers, members of parliament, all manner of people, and not seeking anything in return. He has been the confidant of successive prime ministers, albeit mostly from one party rather than the other. But he has made it a point to give himself freely to whomever may seek his advice, irrespective of what the political allegiance of that person may be. So that's Franklin Wilson, the politician, the statesman, the advisor to prime ministers and other persons of consequence in the political arena. We also know him as the great titan of Bahamian commerce. The captain of industry is what he would be described as in some other cultures. But he has been a trailblazing pioneer in the world of business and commerce for again for well more than 50 years. He was the driving force behind what we popularly refer to today as the Sunshine Boys. Back when it started, it was quite a pejorative term, not quite the established, fully accepted term that it is today. But he was unquestionably the driving force, the pioneering force, the trailblazing force behind the Sunshine Boys. We used to refer to the Sunshine Boys as the most successful Black business conglomerate in our history. But I think we have now sailed well clear of that, because irrespective of racial distinctions, it is unquestionably the most successful business conglomerate in our nation's history. And what has made it all the more remarkable is that Sir Franklin has presided over this group by common claim as being the person best suited to it, for that job, for well more than 50 years. And he has carried this group from strength to strength. It is constantly diversifying itself, and it is today something that we can all look at with great pride. Along the way, he has also inspired successive generations of Bahamians to go into business. Keith Clinton, the head of the Exxon organization of the country, is now called Solid, was telling me the other day what a great influence Sir Franklin was through the Junior Achievement Program many decades ago, in inspiring him to go into business and to reach for the stars. And there are many other stories like Keith's all across our country, from one generation to the next. So Sir Franklin was the driving force behind that as well, as indeed he was for the Young Presidents Organization, which, far more than just bringing the heads of businesses together, it was really the first successful effort to bring Black and white businessmen together in a way that transcended the social aspect and instead resulted in the creation of enduring business partnerships. And looking back, those who are a part of that phenomenon will credit Sir Franklin Wilson and his vision in bringing the Young Presidents Organization to the Bahamas. So he's been enormously successful in business and in commerce. But I come to the third and final thing that I want to touch on tonight, and that is that in speaking with Wendell Jones His Excellency, last Sunday, it was very clear to me that quite apart from the business and political accomplishments to which I refer, that what really lay behind Sir Franklin's selection as Person of the Year was the enormous example he has set for our country with his philanthropy. He is a philanthropist extraordinaire. And I venture to say that those of us who are in this room don't know half of it. As close as I am to Sir Franklin, I can honestly say that I don't think there's ever been a conversation we have had where he would reveal how much money he has given to somebody, some cause. That's not his style at all. He is the model of tact and circumspection when it comes to that sort of thing. I can't recall him ever boasting about what he was able to do through his wealth in advancing some cause. He just does it. And thank God some of it becomes known to the public. And the reason I say thank God, because it does have a galvanizing, contagious effect in terms of encouraging others of wealth in our country to use some of their wealth to deal with some of the massive social problems we have in this country today. When I was speaking with His Excellency last week about this, he made the observation, Ambassador Jones, that if there were more individuals like Sir Franklin in this country, we would not have nearly the kind of panoply of social problems that we have in our country today. But I can assure you that through the application of his personal wealth, wealth of the Wilson family. So many worthy causes have been advanced. Of particular note are the contributions that he has made for the advancement of education. He has been a veritable force for good in this regard. He has been a great source of financial support and advice, help to the Anglican Church, to the Anglican-run schools, and to the University of the Bahamas. And it will be recalled that when it was just the College of the Bahamas, he served with great distinction as the chairman of the council. So I think it's important that we focus on that today because it is the one area of his life where I think his influence and potential for even greater influence overcomes the great tributes that we can all make to him for the other areas of national life that I've touched upon, his role in politics and in business. It's really his philanthropic impulse, the desire, very often unprompted, to recognize that there's a problem and to recognize that through the judicious application of wealth, his private personal wealth, great good can be wrought. And indeed, enormous good has been wrought through the application of this philanthropic impulse of which I speak. So, to sum it all up, we are in the company of a real giant of our times, a man who has distinguished himself in so many ways, some of which we haven't even touched on this evening. He was the first head of a major accounting firm in this country, again at a very young age, as the managing partner of Deloitte. So there's so many things that we touch upon, and hopefully one day someone will write a definitive biography of this outstanding man. We tend to use the word great very often. We overuse it in this country. We like to call people great. But I can assure you that the one person I think that we can all agree on is deserving of that appellation, greatness, is Sir Franklin Wilson. And so I ask you to join with me in expressing our approval and acclaim of the Person of the Year, Sir Franklin Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. McQueenie. At this time, I would like to invite the Prime Minister to approach the podium to present the award to Sir Franklin. And Sir Franklin, you can approach as well. Before we present this award, once again, I will read the plaque, ladies and gentlemen, which reads Jones Communications Network 2023 Person of the Year Award, presented to Sir Franklin R. Wilson for outstanding philanthropic contributions with his work at the Franklin Wilson School of Business of the University of the Bahamas, the Wilson Foundation promoting research and publishing across a wide range of academic disciplines, and the Wilson Awards, which have contributed to the growth and development of the Bahamas. Ladies and gentlemen, if you give him a round